It is a scene many Americans are struggling to make sense of. Chain link fences, cages, temporarily holding more than 1,000 immigrants.
Oh yeah, I know what this is. It's the children being taken away from their parents because they're immigrants. I've heard about this. It's been like all over the news for like a pretty good amount of time.
Many of them children here in McAllen, Texas, at the Central Processing Center, one of America's
This is really bad.
processing facilities. Men, women, and children
Why were they in tinfoil?
wrapped in Mylar blankets as a means to stay warm. This
It's so sad. They're not even real blankets.
These images, released today by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, are among the few visuals we have that provide a glimpse into America's immigration crisis. It is images like these that have now become a flashpoint in the Trump administration's zero-tolerance policy, calling for parents and their children to be separated if the parents have crossed the border illegally.
I feel bad. This is very, very sad.
In a recording first obtained by ProPublica, you can hear the desperate sobbing of children.
That is sad. They should be kept with their parents. It makes it more real to you, like what's really happening to these poor children. Oh my God.
President Trump today staunchly defended his administration's immigration.
I believe that Trump is a good guy, though.
The United States will not be a migrant camp.
Well, it doesn't have to be. Like, at least help the children. Like, come on.
And as the fight rages on, and with policymakers at odds, it is the experience of those detained children that is of greatest concern.
It's like, that would be so scary to be, like, away from your parents for, like that long. Like, I can't even, like, be alone. I can't even stay home alone. I'd be heartbroken if I was separated by my mom. You still have to respect him, but he's making the most dumbest decisions in the whole world. He's saying, like, oh, I'm not doing this on purpose. They're the ones doing this, but I don't think that's true, because just because they're crossing the border doesn't mean they have to be in jail. People come here to be safe, but really, when they come here, if they have children, they get taken away from their children. This really, really, really needs to change. I would be scared too.
Bueno, aquí tenemos una orquesta.
Wow. That is rude.
These are children crying for their parents at a detention center. Children who have been separated from their parents, don't know where their parents are. Scared kids. If you ever heard a kid cry like that, you know where that comes from. That's fear.
I just think that it's horrible what they're doing to these children. It's not their fault. My grandparents are immigrants. They're not illegal, but my mom, I feel like she would be really sad to be taken away from them, and I would be very sad to be taken away from my mom, and I don't think that it's really fair. The guy said, "We have an orchestra here." I just thought that was rude. I knew there was some kind of crisis, but I never realized how bad it was. This can't keep happening. Like I really don't want it to be like, oh, like brush to the side because this another thing happens. We need to like focus on something, get our like policy straight, and then we can focus on another thing and then fix that.
We're signing an executive order. I consider it to be a very important executive order. It's about keeping families together, while at the same time being sure that we have a very powerful, very strong border and border security.
What he means by borders is what people think is that big wall.
So we're going to have strong, very strong borders, but we're going to keep the families together. I didn't like the sight or the feeling of families being separated.
So why did he agree to it if he didn't like the feeling?
And it continues to be a zero tolerance. We have zero tolerance for people that enter our country illegally.
Well, what he said was better. That's very nice of him, because it's sad when you take away a child from their parents and the child doesn't even know where their parents are going. I'm happy he changed his mind and I'm happy he signed the policy. I feel like he's kind of making it seem like I've always never wanted this to ever happen. It's like, you did kind of are okay with this.
So from what you saw, why do you think they're doing this to people who are trying to get into the United States?
To be honest, I have no idea, but they shouldn't have even thought of this. I don't
even know, like, why you would ever think about putting them in, like, cages and stuff like that. Like, that's what you do to, like, animals in, like, a zoo. If you don't want them to come in here illegally, then, like, and you're kicking them out back into, like, Mexico, then at least have their kids be with them.
They're definitely trying to discourage illegal immigrants, but I don't think that's the way to do it. They're just trying to treat a symptom with more illnesses.
If Donald Trump stopped it, he wouldn't have stopped it because he wants, like, immigrants to stop coming in. He probably would have kept it going if it stopped them.
The parents crossed illegally, and illegal is not the right thing to do, and they think that kids shouldn't follow the influence of their parents by doing this. But it's really not the kids' fault at all. It's more of the government.
So this is being done because of a big issue that is going on in the United States right now called illegal immigration.
Illegal immigration?
Do you know what that means?
Nope. I know the word legal means it's against the law.
It's where Mexican people come to the United States without doing their, like, U.S. citizen paper, stuff like that. Illegally cross the border, but I don't think they should be arrested for that and put in cages because, like, it just doesn't feel right. They're just desperate to get out of their state, and then you put them in cages? What's wrong with you, Trump?
Illegal immigration is when someone from another country goes to, well, not just America, but you go to another country without having, like, a green card or a permit to work and live there. I have family in Mexico, so we talk about it a little bit.
So to give you a bit more background, there are legal ways to be allowed to enter the United States and also illegal ways like trying to sneak in and not following the law and trying to move here. Why do you think that there are people who want to come to the United States so badly that they'd break the law instead of trying to follow the law?
Because, well, they're desperate because of something. Because America, this is the home of the brave and land of the free. Everybody wants to live here.
Some of them are living in places that are, like, way worse than what it is over here, that they just want to be safer. They don't want their children or their family to be in danger.
I heard on, like, the news that they were being, like, people being treated badly in other countries and want to come to a better country. You should at least say please and stuff and say you're being treated badly. They might change their mind.
So as you saw in the videos, there have been many cases coming out of families who are trying to get into the country illegally and are not being allowed in and being detained since it is breaking the law, and they're sometimes separating children from their parents and keeping them detained separately.
I'm speechless. This is, like, really, really bad.
America has a really bad reputation with other countries because they're like, oh, if you go to America, you'll get help, but if you go to America, you might get deported or detained.
We do not look like a friendly country, I would say, because if we're detaining people from their children, it doesn't really look great.
Why do you think that they would make that choice?
I have no idea, because what they're doing is basically evil.
If they think that the president is going to be making laws like this, then they might not want to do stuff like going into the country.
I don't think they do it more for the kids, but more for the adults to say, like, hey, you came to America, so now this is your fault, not that you didn't come in legally, so we're going to take your kids from you now.
If their parents made that decision and they knew what was going to happen, then at least keep them together and, like, kick them out of here together. Because it's worse to separate them and children be crying.
Now, people have been coming into the country illegally for many years. This is not a new problem. So in an effort to stop it, President Trump and his administration for a period of time had been allowing this to be done to families. Some people felt it's the right thing to do because it's important for our country to protect itself from people breaking the law, because you need to follow the laws, and many people enter legally and follow the law.
Well, it is kind of important to keep our country safe, but at the same time, you really shouldn't separate families.
I haven't thought about that side yet, but I think now that I thought of it, it was the parents' fault, because if they did their U.S. citizen paperwork, none of this would happen. They would be with their children right now.
Sometimes they just don't want foreigners who they don't know who really they are to come in, because then the criminals would hear about it. They cause a lot of problems, and now we can't kick them out anymore because we don't have the laws anymore.
On top of that, people worry that if we don't know who's coming into the country, bad people could come in and they might commit crimes or take work away from legal people in the country and things of that nature.
Why do you care if they take work? Just find another job. Just find the nearest McDonald's. They're always for hire.
There's a slight possibility of a bad person coming in, but most people just want a good life in America.
Of course, we need to make America safe from people like terrorists who might come in and might want to do bad things here. But I feel like we should also make it easier for people who are in bad living situations back in their home country so they can come to America, which is, for some people, a place of opportunity.
So hearing a small bit of both sides, what do you think?
I think, why should you punish the kids? I mean, you should punish only the parents because it was their idea.
It's not the kids' decision, it's their parents. And I think that they should stay together and maybe just, I know that it's not good for people to be detained, but I mean, they should at least just be together.
I just don't like how they were separating kids from their families, but now they're like keeping them together. But still, I feel like people should be entering legally. It'll cause less chaos.
There's always a middle point. There's always a gray. I don't think they're doing the correct thing by illegally crossing, but I don't think the right way is to separate children from their family.
Well, after hearing a lot of feedback from many people, President Trump, as you saw, signed an executive order ending the policy of children being separated from their parents at the border.
So no more of doing that. But that whole chunk of people that are in that detention center are still in there.
So it's a little complicated, but this policy actually doesn't stop holding children. It means that they will just now be held with their parents.
That's like this much better, but still they shouldn't be doing that.
Many people don't think that this solves the problem since it's unclear how they're going to reunite the so many children who are right now still separated from their parents.
I feel bad for the kids who are still separated. Why? They changed the policy already.
And also with other laws, children can only be held for a short period of time, so they might still be separated from their parents even with the new law.
I feel that Trump is just not up to this task.
Do you think that there's any answer to this problem right now?
Well, I'm only 7, so I'm not like the president or anything. I am not even a class president yet.
After all these people leave that detention center, no more.
All you need to do is get more security and you'll just stop the whole entire thing. You won't need to detain anyone. You won't need to separate anyone.
Being a 10-year-old, I probably don't have like the idea that like the president of the United States would have. We need to at least have some things in line, like if you come here illegally, but it doesn't need to be this crazy detaining you from your children.
Maybe do a little more research, like of their background, if they've done anything bad, like in their life.
Just build a wall. If it's like bricks and like it's flat, then they can't climb over it unless they have some gecko or flying powers.
Anyone can jump a wall. That's not gonna stop anyone, and it's gonna be so expensive. The means to get in this goal just have to be different. They have to look for another way to do this.
So as we discussed, this illegal immigration issue has been happening for years, long before President Trump was in office. We just talked about some of the reasons that people don't want people coming into the country illegally, and it's not just the United States that deals with this issue.
Oh, really?
It is illegal to just live in any country that you're not born in, and almost every country has laws around how to live there legally. Why do you think it's like that?
I mean, people just don't want bad people coming into their country.
It doesn't matter what race, color, or, anything. You're just a person. It's just countries. I never really thought about that, but it's true. We should all just be able to live in the same place.
No country wants to not be able to control its borders. They have their own economical climate, and they can't just let anyone in. It's unlawful, and it's just, society wouldn't work that way if people just went anywhere with no passports, no visas.
So finally, if you had an opportunity to talk to lawmakers of the United States about this issue, what would you want them to know?
I would want them to know that this is stupid.
This seems very unfair because we were made of immigrants. Trump's family, probably in the past, were immigrants. Why can't we just let new immigrants in?
It's not fair that these countries have to be hurt in such a bad way. Just because they're another race, they should be, or from another country, they should be taken away from their families or deported back.
Try your very best to make us the nicest, the kindest way that we could possibly be while still being strong on immigration, but not like crazy detaining people.
Lawmakers, they have control, but eventually in a democracy, people are the people who have control. So if we don't like something, we can always change who's making the laws. And it's not the simplest task, but if everyone bands together, it's possible.